Welcome to His Majesty's Canadian ship CHIPPAWA Centennial Gala, where we are celebrating 100 years of service as a Naval Reserve Division. Tonight we'll enjoy some fine dining, the Royal Canadian Navy Band of HMCS CHIPPAWA, and we'll take a trip down memory lane highlighting some historical events in our naval history. In February of 1923, Rear Admiral Hose convinced the Government of Canada that the Navy needed to establish a presence across Canada, not just on the coast. And they did this by starting Naval Reserve divisions or Naval Reserve companies, which were a part of the Royal Canadian Navy Voluntary Reserve, the RCNVR. Eustace Brock was tasked with establishing a reserve division here in Winnipeg, Manitoba. And on March 19, 1923, the Winnipeg Company of the Royal Canadian Navy Volunteer Reserve was established, beginning a naval tradition that still lasts to this day. From 1923 to 1939, Commander Brock and the Winnipeg Company RCNVR worked to achieve the vision of Rear Admiral Hose to establish a naval presence in Winnipeg, Manitoba by recruiting and training, you guessed it, prairie sailors. During the Second World War, Winnipeg was the largest recruiting center for naval personnel outside of the coast. The RCNVR formed the backbone of the Royal Canadian Navy, recruiting and training hundreds and even thousands of sailors to go to sea in support of the Battle of the Atlantic. The Battle of the Atlantic was an essential war effort, transporting goods and personnel across the harsh North Atlantic Ocean for the war effort. Without this essential lifeline, the war could not have been won. In 1941, the Winnipeg Division RCNVR was officially commissioned His Majesty's Canadian ship CHIPPAWA, as we know it today. In 1942, to meet the demanding war effort, the Women's Royal Canadian Naval Service, commonly referred to as RENS, was established, and Winnipeg would be the second largest source for female recruits in Canada. Also in 1942, the New York Rangers NHL hockey team had their training camp in Winnipeg, and somehow the Navy team found the time to play an exhibition game against them, putting our sailors up against the pros. Percy Haynes became the first black Canadian to join the Royal Canadian Navy in Winnipeg in 1943. He was a musician, accomplished pianist and vocalist. He was a star track athlete and basketball player, and his family owned the famous Winnipeg restaurant, Haynes Chicken Shack. In the early 1950s, the polio epidemic hit Winnipeg. HMCS CHIPPAWA volunteered its heated swimming pool for performing rehab for polio victims. Also, HMCS CHIPPAWA RENS, who were trained as nurses, supported hospital staff during the nursing shortage. In 1973, on the 50th anniversary, our official motto, Service, was adopted. HMCS CHIPPAWA has responded to several floods over the year, notably the 1950 flood and a flood in 2014 more recently, but none were more severe than the 1997 flood of the century. Hundreds of sailors and dozens of boats sprung into action to fight the flood, performing evacuations, rescues, reinforcing dikes, having our dive team in the water. HMCS CHIPPAWA received a Deputy Chief of the Defence Staff commendation for their heroic work, the first Naval Reserve Division in Canada to do so.
I'd like to introduce our guest of honor this evening, Commodore Patrick Montgomery.
100 years ago, Canada had come out of the First World War. We'd had a limited number of reservists for the Navy, which had been disbanded. So our Chief of Naval Staff, Chief of Naval Service, Rear Admiral Walter Hose, went to government and said, I would like to establish a Naval Reserve in Canada that's permanent. When you think about the reasons for starting our Naval Reserve, so we needed a mobilization base. We needed people to be able to go to sea when and if called upon by their country. We still need that today, I would say. We also needed to tell Canada that we have a Navy. one of my favorite responses when somebody says, oh, you're in Winnipeg. They have Navy in Winnipeg? It's like, of course, we have a Navy in Canada. It's all over the place. We have 24 Naval Reserve divisions now across the country, spreading that news, being in the community, and telling Canadians about their Navy. I wish that Rear Admiral Hose was here today, because I know he'd be proud of what he started and the seeds that have been planted that we nurture today to help grow our institution. So I thank you all for your effort in growing that institution, and whether you're regular or reserve, every day that you volunteer and put on your uniform, you're contributing and serving your country. Thank you very much. Making a difference every day, and it's just wonderful to be here part of that Centennial celebration, to remember where we're from and to remember where we're going.
Commodore Gala is going to make a couple of presentations. The first one, Mr. Markelinas. Lieutenant Matthew Markelinas is the foods officer at HMCS Chippewa. He also happens to be the executive chef here at the hotel and was instrumental in setting up the dinner. Mr. Markelinas, right there.
So you probably can't see, but what I've got is a Centennial coin to present to you as a token of thank you for all of the hard work.
Commander Pugh, sir.
So on behalf of Chippewa, it's my pleasure to present a Centennial coin.
On behalf of HMCS Chippewa, I would like to present a Centennial coin to the Commodore. Our own unit coins and a nice applause.
I would now invite the Provincial Minister of Labour, Mr. Reyes, to come forward. Mr. Brian Kuntz, the Consul of the United States of America. And finally, Lieutenant Commander Stephen Waterloo, Commanding Officer of the United States Naval Reserve. I would remind the diners that we are not aboard one of His Majesty's ships. And as such, I would ask you to charge your glasses with your beverage of choice and rise for the toasts.
I've got you under my skin. I've got you so deep in the heart of me. You're so deep in my heart that you're really a part of me. You know I've got you under my skin. I tried so not to give in. You know I said to myself, this affair never will go so well. Why should I try to resist when, darling, I know so well that I've got you under my skin. I would sacrifice anything, come what might, for the sake of having you here. In spite of a warning voice, come to the night and repeat how it yells in my ear. Don't you know you're not genuine? Use your mentality, wake up to reality. But each time I do, just the thought of you makes me stop before I begin. 'Cause I've got you under my skin. Sacrifice anything, come what might, for the sake of having you here. In spite of a warning voice, come to the night and repeat how it yells in my ear. Don't you know, you fool, you never can win. Why not use
today, he would be pleased that his vision of the Naval Reserve is alive and well. With 24 Naval Reserve divisions across Canada, training sailors to be prepared for the next flood or domestic emergency, and augmenting the regular force on operations on ships around the world, the Naval Reserve is alive and well. We are proud of our 100 years of service and looking forward to 100 more.